Welcome to Andy's Garage. I'm Andy Phillips. Today I'm going to show you how to replace the rear drum brakes on a Dodge Neon. Let's go ahead and get started. These are all the things you'll need to complete this video. First of all, you will need your replacement brake shoes. You want to make sure that you purchase the correct ones for the Dodge Neon. Next, I highly recommend getting the brake hardware pack. A lot of times when you're replacing your brakes, the hardware could be getting rusted, especially like in the case here where we said it looks like it could be seized. You want to make sure that you're replacing all that. It's inexpensive, and at least you're getting all new springs and clips, all that. You also want some anti-seize lubricant, and I'll show you as we go through it where you want to put that to keep the brakes from seizing up in certain spots. Set of needle nose pliers. I have some hose pliers because I use that to stretch out the springs. They do make special tools for that, which I don't use. I just use this. That works just as good. And then we have an 8mm wrench that you'll need to bleed the brake lines when we're done. So these are all the things needed to complete this. We're going to start by getting the car up in the air. I'm using just a hydraulic jack, but you can use the jack that came with the vehicle. But you want to make sure that you don't rely solely on the jack, regardless of what jack you're using. Always use jack stands. But now that we have it up in the air, we loosened the lug nuts already, but now we're just going to finish taking them off so we can remove the wheel off of there, and that'll give us access to the drum so we can remove that and get to the brakes inside. Occasionally you may run into it where the lug nuts are stuck. Maybe if you took it to a tire shop, they torqued them too tight, or they could be rusted on. But if you want to see a video I did on how to remove stuck or seized lug nuts, you can check that out via the link above. I'll also have it down in the description along with other references to videos I've done that may be beneficial for you. Now with the wheel removed, we have access here. This is our brake drum, this piece right here. These are your studs that are connected to the hub assembly, which is behind that. You can see on this particular vehicle here, there's one stud that's broken off. So I am going to be replacing the hub assembly. Not showing it in this video because we're focusing on the brakes, but if you want to see my video on how to replace the hub assemblies on a Dodge Neon, you can check it out via the link above, also down in the description. But next thing we need to do is we need to remove this brake drum so we can get to the brakes that are behind it. So you want to make sure that you don't have your emergency brake engaged, so make sure you disengage it. Once that's done, this should slide off. If it's still tight on there, we're going to head around here to the back, and I'll show you there's a little rubber like seal that we can open up so we can then release the pressure of the brakes to slide that off. In some cases, like with this one here, we have these brakes, they've been on here for a while, they were rusted, seized on, so it's not going to come off as easy. I'm not going to show all that in this video, but if you want to see my video on how to remove a seized or stuck brake drum, you can check that out via the link above, also down in the description, because sometimes, depending how long they've been on there, they can be seized on there as well, and just releasing the e-brake or unscrewing the tension of it won't work. Headed around here to the back, and you can see this vehicle. It's been sitting a lot. We're going to be doing a lot of work to it, but for now we're focusing on the brakes. But you'll see this little rubber panel there. If you take a flathead screwdriver and pop that off, then you can release the tension of the brakes. You would also use that if you wanted to adjust your emergency brake as well. You can tighten it as well by turning the little, kind of has a little threaded nut that opens and closes the tension against the brake shoes. But we're going to go ahead and pop that off, and we'll release the pressure so we can get the brake drum off. There we are. I believe the hardware pack comes with a replacement one as well if you do damage it. Looking in, you can see the threads there, and you can see the nut with the grooves on it there, which is where we'll put the flathead screwdriver, and we'll be able to turn that. We'll take our flathead screwdriver, get it right on that threaded piece, and you want to push down, because pushing down will release the tension off of it. There we are. And keep doing that until the drum is loose enough to come off. Nice and loose. Let's see if we can. Looks like it could come off. Sometimes these can be, like in the case of this one, it's been on there a while. You might have to work it a little bit. That's the annoying part of drum brakes. If that's the case, you can take, what I have here is a 3-pound sledgehammer, give it some good whacks along the edges, just in case it's stuck in any areas. That'll free it up. Pull back here. There we go. Whew. Look at that. A mess in here. Huge mess. The brakes aren't even that bad, but it's just all caked up in here. The other side had seized, so I'm doing both, but this one here still looks very bad as well. We need to take the axle nut off, and then we'll be able to slide this out, and then we can get to everything in here and replace it. You don't have to remove the hub assembly to do the brakes. It just makes it easier so you can get to everything. So I'll leave it up to you if you want to do that or not. Here we go. And now this hub bearing assembly slides right off. And I'll get a close-up here, but you can see we have clear access to access everything. This wheel cylinder, even though it's not leaking, looks pretty bad. I'm going to replace it anyway. So if you want to see my video on how to replace a wheel cylinder on a Dodge Neon, you can check that out via the link above. Also have that down in the description. But let's get a close-up. I can show you what we're looking at, and then we'll start removing all this, cleaning this out, putting the new one in. And here's a close-up. You can see how dirty that is. Really bad. Definitely in need of a cleaning. It's a good idea whenever you do your drum brakes, as we mentioned already, replace your hardware when you're doing it. And if the wheel cylinder needs to be replaced, get that out, the hub as well, just because you have access to everything. And once we get all this out of here, we're going to clean that also, wash it down real good, clean it. You want to clean all that junk out of there, so that way we can put the anti-seize in there and have everything functioning properly with the new brakes and hardware. Just want to take a second and identify the components here because you have a lot going on. This right here is your wheel cylinder up here on top. Then you have what's called as this is the return spring. Behind it right here, you have what's known as the automatic adjuster screw assembly. And this is what we were pushing down on from the back with the screwdriver. This thing rotates right here. So if you see it, it can rotate. Now, if we were pushing it up, that tightens it. So we were going the other way, this way with it, which is what loosens it. So you have those. Then these right here are your brake shoes. You have one on each side. You have, next is the automatic adjuster lever, which is right here, and then the spring that goes from the lever to the brake shoe itself. Then you have the brake shoe to anchor spring, which goes underneath this plate here. We'll get a close-up of that. And then you have these little tabs here, which are your hold-down clips, one on each side. We'll have to turn those with the needle nose pliers, pop them out. That will enable all this to come out. And then that's pretty much it right here. And then you have the brake drum that goes right over it. We're going to start by removing the automatic adjuster lever spring right here. We'll take our needle nose pliers, just pull up on that slightly, pull that off. And then that comes down here, and then we can pull that out. I'm going to remove the lever itself, and this can just, now that the spring's out, you can just pull it back, and it'll slide right out like that. And now we can take this automatic adjuster screw assembly, and we'll loosen it so it'll come out. Once we have it completely loosened, there we go. Let's see if I can pull it out. If not, we'll just leave it in and it'll come out with the rest of it. Yeah, which is the case. So we'll leave it in, and then when we pull it out, it'll come out. Next, we'll take our needle nose pliers. We'll take these hold down clips, push in on that, and turn it. And then that should come out of the back. And I'll go around back so you can see how it pops out. Push that. See it coming out right here. There we go. We'll head over here and do the other one. And these are both getting replaced anyway. push that in, turn it, and that will loosen this guy right here up. Here we go. Pull that off, push that in, that's out. This is all getting loose at this point. We do have this spring under here that we need to remove, or you can, and you want to be careful because you have your wheel cylinder. I'm replacing it, but if you're not, you don't want to damage that, so you want to go easy with that. So you can pull those apart, and it'll just come out like it did here. Pull this one out, and then this is your emergency brake right here where it connects in. So we need to remove, there's a little clip, and I'll show you where that is, that we need to take off here on the back. So this comes off. It's all dirty up here. I'll get a close-up so you can see what we're dealing with. So underneath all that junk is actually an E-clip holding the emergency park brake where it connects there to that lever. We're going to pop that off so we can pull that out, and then we're done. All that will come out, and we can focus on cleaning this whole area out in here. I'll just use my needle nose pliers and just pull on it while getting leverage here on the edge of the brake shoe. And there we go. The E-clip is out. And then now we can just take this, pop the shoe off of it, and you can see where it goes in here. I'll do this. There you go. And now we can clean all this out, put the anti-seize here on certain spots that I'll show you, and then we can start rebuilding it all back. Everything has been cleaned out, as you can see. Still got a little bit of debris in here, but as far as in here, it's all been scraped out, degreased. You can see here all the crap that drained out of it. But I also replaced the wheel cylinder while I was at it. This is the wheel cylinder that was in there. It was not leaking or anything. It's just while I had it open, I figured let's go ahead and replace that. I had already replaced one on the other side when I did the brakes on that side first. So we have all this ready to go. So we're ready to start putting the new brakes in. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to use some of this anti-seize right here. This stuff here by Permatex. And we're going to apply it in certain spots that I'm going to show you. And then we'll start building everything together. The contact points that you're going to want to hit are the elevated areas. So you have one here, and then down here, and the same on this side. You have a little bump out here, one here, and one here. So we'll take this and put that on here. And you'll see the areas, they're elevated. And I'll get a close-up so you can see what I'm talking about. You'll see a pattern here. I don't know if you can see it in the video, but right here. But those are the three spots. As you can see, I did on that side. But that's where you want to apply it. Okay, so now that that's on, let's get our new brakes. We'll put them in position and start attaching the hardware. Now the first thing that we want to do is we want to attach the e-brake here to this shoe. So we'll push it through. Make sure it goes all the way through. And then we'll put the e-clip on it. Okay. And if you get the hardware kit like I did, it comes with the extra E-clip. So we can slide that on here. And then I'll just get my needle nose pliers. Grab it here. Boom, done. So that's on. Make sure that that's solid. Good. So now we can put this, and you want to make sure that it lines up with the grooves here on the wheel cylinder. So get them aligned nice and straight. We'll pop that in. And the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to clip that in. So I'm going to run the clip through from the back, as we saw earlier how we put it through that same hole. So now it's going to come through here. Let's see. Bring it on in. There we go. And then we're going to take our clip, put it here, and then we'll push it down with the needle nose pliers, bring the tip through, and then we'll be able to turn it and lock it in. There we go. And then turn it. Okay. That's how it should look. You can see the locking stud is turned horizontally and locked onto the clip. I'm going to do the other side, and then we'll be back to start putting the springs and the adjustment pieces in. The two shoes are on. They're secure. Next, I'm going to take the brake shoe to anchor spring. We're going to connect it. It slides in that slot, and then we pull it over to the other slot. But I'll get a close-up so you can see what I'm talking about, and then we'll stretch it out. This is the spring. So you're going to feed it into that slot. It goes behind the plate, and then we'll pull it into that slot right there to lock it in. Slide it in. Grab it here. This has been stretched out. What I do is I'll take a little bit of you can use a flathead screwdriver, or I'll just use this little pry bar, slide it underneath, right here, under the plate, and then just stretch it down like this. Makes it a lot easier than trying to stretch it behind there. So now everything here is in place. So the next thing that we can do is we'll start adding the rest of the springs and hardware. Next, we're going to be putting in the adjuster screw assembly and the adjuster lever and spring. So to do that, you have a longer side and a shorter side. The longer side goes towards the outside. The shorter side goes towards the inside, so the lever can fit behind it. So an easy way to do it, if you put it in, you can pull this out a little bit, and you want it to be where the longer notched out is facing outside. So we'll slide this in, have it fully retracted. You can slide that in like this. Okay. And now that'll go in, and then we can push it in like that. And then you can adjust this screw by turning it downward. That's going to extend it so we can get it in place. So I'm going to put the lever in here, and then we'll do the spring, and then we'll adjust that, and then put the other spring in place, and then we can put the drum back over it and wrap this up. Now the way that the lever goes in, you have this little hook piece and that notch there. So you slide it in and then tuck it right behind that, and it goes in like this. And then we can now tighten that up a little bit more so that way it's secure. There we go. And then now we can take the spring, which is going to go from here and go into this hole. So I'm going to stretch it out, and then we'll be back, and that'll hold it in place. And the way that this works is that that spring will pull it down to tighten that as you're driving, and as the shoes wear down a little bit, it'll pull it to adjust it accordingly. So I'm going to stretch this out, put it in here, and we'll be right back. This has been connected, and we have this fully extended to reach, but we want the shoes completely pushed in to the caliper, to the cylinder, so that way the drum can go over it. Next, you want to take the lever and you want it positioned up here up high, so that way it can push down as need be. So this is how it should look. Next, we have the return spring, and there's two little spots where it clips in, and I'll get a close-up so you can see it. But basically, we're going to put it in here and stretch it out. So let me get a close-up so you can see where it clips in, and then we'll stretch it out, and that's the last piece before we slide the hub assembly on. You have little notched out area up there, and if we come to this other brake shoe, you've got the same little notched out area right up there. That's what we're stretching it out between. So let's go ahead and do that. So we have the first one clipped in. So what I'll do is I'll grab it here and then take the hose plier and then just stretch it this way till we get it right to that spot. And there we go. You can see how I've stretched it out here. And using the hose pliers really helps. You can get a grip here and then just grab on to the opening here in the brake, right there in the shoe, and just pull it right there and it clips right in. So that's good. So now we're ready to put the brake drum back on. Well, actually, I'm sorry. First we need to put the hub assembly back on, tighten the axle nut, and then we'll be back to put the drum back on. New hub assembly has been put back on. Everything is secure. You'll notice for that right here, the adjuster lever, that has been put in the proper position. So now we're ready to slide the brake drum over it, and then the last thing will be to bleed the brakes. You don't want to do it beforehand because then you're going to get the wheel cylinder to expand and you won't be able to get the drum over it. So let's get the drum on and then we'll bleed the brakes and wrap it up. We're going to take our drum now, slide it over. Want to make sure that the studs line up perfectly like that. And then you can slide that on. Nice. And you'll notice it's rotating very freely. We want to, after we bleed the brakes, we're going to adjust the adjuster screw. Get it a little bit tighter because you want it to move freely, but not that free. You want it to be like expanded out there, so that way your brakes have a nice response. So let's head around back. We're going to bleed the brakes, and then we'll adjust that and wrap it up. Now, in order to bleed this, we have this little rubber cap that we're going to have to pop off. Actually, let me get my gloves off so I can get a better grip on it. But we'll tighten that a little bit more. Take this little rubber piece, slide that off. There we are. And this is an 8mm, I believe, on this one as well. Yep, there we go. So we'll have it closed. I'm going to have someone press on the brake, and then we'll go ahead and open it up until the air comes out and we're getting a solid stream of brake fluid, and then that'll be good to go. We'll tighten it, and that'll take care of that.
Whoa.
Okay, hold on. All right, now let it go. Okay, now push it down. Hold it. Hold it. All right, that's it. Everything is bled. There we are. With pumping the brakes up and bleeding them, they're nice and tight now. I don't need to adjust them in the back. I thought they might still be a little bit loose. So let's go ahead and put the tire back on and wrap it up. All right, well, that wraps up this video on how to change out the rear drum brakes on a Dodge Neon. Everything's back together. Everything's good to go. As you saw in the video, it's a little more technical and can be problematic compared to regular brake pads with calipers, but if you have a vehicle like this, you got to do it anyway. This is the only vehicle I have that has it. All my other ones just have regular brake pads, which are so much easier. But I hope that this video helped you out with any projects you're working on. Please send me any questions and comments. I would love to hear from you. As always, I appreciate all the support. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel. I'll see you next time.